Okay, we want to take a look into what the actual housing data is coming into this month. And so, we just see so much talk about people waiting for the market to drop, all these types of things. What is the actual data? Because data is your friend. So, in November, we saw a very weak markets, but here's what we know. We know that there is some lower mortgage rates on the horizon. So prices were falling at a faster pace, started plunging some areas. Lenders are already cutting mortgage rates. We're going to show you a second the result of bond yields. We talk about this in a lot, in a lot of videos. So sales only edged down by 0.9% month over month. And then new listings dropping by just under 2%. So total decline 2.5%. So this is a chart that shows MLS, how much the month over month listings, house pricing index. So you see this as during this time that we're kind of in a situation. You can see during these times 101 hot market, right? So this data right here is during the hot market, and then we see things starting to come up here, and then we see like, oh, this bump that we saw in the spring or early summer, and really back down here, into the fall. But we see it moving on the upward swing, so that's important. Moving on the upward swing, as far as listings that from that perspective. The chart on the sales to new ratio listings. Kind of just talk about that. Now we want to talk about the Bank of Canada policy rate. So look, this is where how interest rates on the Bank of Canada and prime rate, how they've impacted things. So you can see this is where rates have been. A little bit of climb right up here, and then this is COVID right here, flat. And look at that hike that we've seen. And this is a small green line is what the market implied that rates should be going forward. So you see right here, this is actually what the rate is today, and this is what the forecast is to drop rates. So if this is the rate today, this is where rates are expected to go. That's also 2% drop in rate. This is bond yields. This dictates. This is the average, like 5-year fixed rate is the green line, influenced by a bond yield, which is the blue line right here. And so right here, you'll see that the bond yield recently has been dipping and is projected to dip further, which would influence fixed rates going down as well. Point that's made on this graph is that a 1% drop in rate increases purchasing power by 10%. 10%. We're not going to do that graph. Another thing that is brought to the attention there is that if there's more purchasing power, will that heat up the market? The problem is that like the economy is substantially weaker than it was at that point. And so because the economy is substantially weaker, it's not predicted to move price points as aggressively. And even the activity size here, that's not a result of anything more than there's still a massive housing shortage. So this is another really cool graph. Looks at the rate of loans in arrears. We get a lot of people talk about this, talking about, hey, what about the rush of foreclosures? So you can see right here that this blue line is actually mortgages, and actually not a meaningful difference on foreclosure. In fact, they're a little bit less than they were even in 2015. That's HELOCs right here. So not really much difference in defaults whatsoever during quite a long period of time. This is auto loans. See that those are really going up, and this is credit card debt. So even that is relatively static. The biggest increase has been in automotive loans, have been decreases. This is a graph on building permits and housing starts this year. So you see how much during this time, how many, the blue line is how many building permits given out, and then how many houses started to be built. So we see a real good rise in there. But this is a real concern that we are seeing quite a plunging of how many permits are going out and how much building is happening when we're at a housing shortage. And then, this Toronto one, we don't see a ton of activity on that front. But this is a real important thing to note because, we have problem number one. We do not have building permits and housing starting. We have within rates going down, we do have the ability for some buyers to get in more affordably, or there's people that would buy if they were able to qualify for something. We're going to see some of that tip of the iceberg start to crack. And the other portion we talk about all the time is immigration, and immigration is still rising up and still getting higher. So we still really have a housing crisis that and this is the kind of the cold notes of it. Every single time we have something like interest rates going up, which temporarily puts a pause on the market. The problem is that if during that time we're not slowing the amount of people that needed to have to buy homes by whatever reason, immigration, marital changes, all that type of thing, we're pushing that activity into another activity. And that's what creates a frenzy. If I have 10 people buying a home every single month, but then for 2 months, for whatever reasons, let's call them interest rates, 10 people, um, 10, there's 10 people that can't buy homes. So now I got 2 months where those 10 people don't buy a home. In the third month, I had 10 people already, but now I got 30 people. And these create the frenzy. And so this is the worry when we have interest rate increases all the time, is that we're pushing activity into those months and making those actual months turn into major frenzies. Psychologically, when everybody starts buying a home, this is what kind of fuels the market. It's for whatever reason, when we have those months where no one's buying, which is the best time to get in, no one gets in. But when there's 30 buyers, people are going crazy and everybody gets in, and we have a spiral of events. So anyway, if you have questions about getting into the market, this is the time to reach out. This is fresh off the data, off the press data on December housing data. But we'd love to help out. If there's anything we can help with, we'd love to give you a hand with that.